associates with GED Tony. I
Go
think
ahead.
I've seen him before on Shiz. Welcome to the stage, JL.
JL Warren. Yeah. What's up, JL?
How's it going? So I was sent the link here.
Who
Heard
sent it
some
to you? JL, who sent it?
a friend.
What friend? What's the friend's name?
It's
It's all
not
right. You
important.
don't right because you don't want to reveal the gang of people you run with that go out and spread the falsehoods that you and G2 like to spread.
The
Remember,
false.
PhD. Remember, PhD Tony, the smartest man on the internet, declared your proof that God doesn't exist as full of holes and worthless.
No, we didn't.
Yes, he did. I have the clip. And you said the holes are where I trap the believers.
I never said that. Never
Yeah,
said
you
that
did.
ever.
Yeah, you did. You did. I'll play the clip for you. Don't worry about it.
So nonetheless, but I sent I was sent the link and heard some
I'm not
interesting
scared at
stuff.
all.
Well, I mean, you kind of are because I mean,
I was responding to G2, not you.
your worldview is fallacious,
I
and
wasn't speaking
you
to
can't
you.
support it.
I can
You
support it, and I
Okay, so
have
what
supported it.
in what ways is his worldview fallacious? Let's give him a couple minutes.
So ultimately,
Go
the core of it, theistic worldviews themselves are fallacious at their cores because at the base of it, if you look at the field of theology, which is essentially the study of the nature of whatever deity or whatever like God they're talking about, and so the nature of the God and then the religious things that are built around that God. So that's what theology in and of itself is. But appealing to the theology as though it is evidence or proof of the God's existence is begging the question. It's assuming the truth of the consequence and the premises. The problem is that the God has to first be demonstrated to exist for the theology that follows from the God in order to have any weight whatsoever. So when you appeal to the Bible or you point at things in the natural world as being evidence of this thing, it's assuming that it exists in order for those things to be the evidence that you're claiming that they are. And so
Unless God
ultimately,
is the author
so
of the
ultimately,
text, which you have to
ultimately,
deny.
it's circular at its core. It's begging the question, and
Well,
so it renders the worldview as indefensible. Is because it's not predicated upon evidence. It's predicated on emotions. It's predicated on what they want to be true, not what they can demonstrate to be true as being true in external reality, independent of mind and context.
what about your faith-based religion that there is no God?
I
Pure faith.
don't have a faith based religion. Why are you gaslighting me?
I'm not
You
gaslighting is a
are.
long.
No,
Hold
no,
on,
no. Coded, you
JL. I
don't
let you
understand
talk.
what you don't
JL, I
understand. No, no.
let
You
you
gaslit
talk.
me. You
No, you're
gaslit me. And I'm
just throwing
explaining.
words out
You
that you
gaslit
think
me, and I'm
impact me.
explaining how you gaslit me.
I
When you
didn't
say that I
gaslight
have
you.
faith, you did, and I'm explaining how.
You
Okay, so
do
I
have
can,
faith. You have
I
no
don't.
proof God
I have
doesn't
faith
exist.
in nothing. No, no, no,
So
no,
it's
no. It's not
faith-based.
about Coded. This is the problem. This is what you don't understand.
You're all
Okay, and I'm
excited and
trying
emotional now
and
because I
Coded.
questioned your belief.
I'm trying to explain this to you. Okay,
And I merely countered
so
your explanation,
you haven't
and
countered
you're
anything, and
getting all emotional now.
I'm not.
Because you cut me off
I'm
because I
trying
said
to
one
explain this
word.
to you,
I
Coded.
said the
Okay,
word faith, and you
Coded.
started
Okay,
kooking.
you did cut him off. That is facts. We gave you a couple minutes. Now it's Coda's turn.
He gaslit
Jail,
me. I'm going to explain how he gaslit
I'm
me.
going to explain how I didn't gaslight you, so shut up for a minute, please.
Yes, yes. Please demonstrate for the audience how you have psychic access to my mind.
Okay. Gaslighting is a long-term procedure. It doesn't happen in a single incident. It's actually drawn from a theater play where an individual dimmed the gas lights in the house. This is theater. The concept of gaslighting comes from theater. It comes from an actual play, dude. You're a
You're actually
dope.
wrong on that. You're actually wrong on that, but that's okay.
I'm gonna finish what I was saying.
You're still
So
wrong. You're
in
wrong on
so
that. It
in
actually
this
comes straight.
play,
The term
so
gaslighting,
in shut up,
indicating an
douchebag.
individual's perceived
You
reality
can
is
let him
incorrect. Actually,
finish.
Right, and it's
the idea of presenting a reality that
this is the
the
problem with
reality
these
someone
guys. They
experiences is
can't
incorrect.
fucking
That
listen.
gaslighting
I understand.
that actually comes.
I understand you have rebuttals to his statements, but just let him finish, please.
Yeah.
All he's doing is preaching at me. Okay,
I'm
he's
not
not
preaching at
saying
you.
anything
Well,
I'm
substantive.
talking
you were
about
preaching at
gaslight.
him just a minute ago.
I
Let him.
wasn't. I was.
You were. Let him finish, please. Thank you.
Okay, so gaslighting is a long-term systematic procedure by which you cause an individual to doubt their own perception of reality by
Yes, I'm aware.
subtly, continually altering that reality. So you cannot be gaslit by a single fucking
You can,
statement.
yes, you can. It's a
No, you can't.
gaslighting statement, is what it
No, you
is.
can't. You're
Yes, it
making
is.
shit
You're
up.
telling me that my reality is different from what I perceive. That is a gaslighting statement.
I didn't say anything about your reality
Yes, you
other
did.
than,
You said that
hold
I
on,
have faith
let
in
me,
my
will
worldview.
you do have faith in your
I don't.
worldview.
There is
You
no
have
faith in my worldview.
no
None.
proof. So
No, no,
therefore
no.
it
That's big deal.
must be
Okay, okay, Vegas,
faith-based.
Vegas. If you can mute him for a second, I will explain why he's wrong in that statement. Okay, but I need to be able to explain that when he says because
Okay,
you have no proof. Here's
let's give him 2 minute, or let's give him 1 minute coded. Go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
here's the problem, and this may take more than a minute to explain because there's a bit of detail in here that Coded is not getting. When you're talking about the existence of an entity, I am not making the positive claim that an entity at all does not exist. My position is that I don't believe that such an entity exists because I'm not convinced that such an entity exists. There are unfalsifiable God concepts that could actually exist, but they can neither be determined to be true or false. I can't say that those don't exist. I don't know that they do. I'm agnostic
You
towards
say
those
you have
positions.
proof he
I'm
doesn't
almost
exist.
no. Well, okay,
You're the
okay.
one that's gaslighting
Coded,
now.
coded. I'm not done. Shut up and listen, and I will explain this to you.
You just said you're
When you
not
talk
saying
about
what you
when
fucking
you t-
said a million
when you
times.
talk about certain God concepts, the way those God concepts are defined can result in them entailing logical contradictions. Logical contradictions cannot exist. Therefore, that particular version of a God cannot exist. If you want to redefine the God into an unfalsifiable concept like naturalistic deism, that's fine. But if you want to define your God as something like has omniscience and has agency, these are logically contradictory positions that result in a
Not
logical contradiction
wrong.
that says it cannot exist. So
Wrong.
that is a God that I can demonstrate doesn't exist by virtue of what it is entailing. That's what I'm talking about. There is no faith in my worldview. Faith is belief without evidence. Faith is belief without reasonable justification or rational justification. There is
What's the
nothing in
proof
my
that God
worldview.
doesn't exist, Warren?
Okay, that depends upon the God we're talking about. If you are
So
defining your God in a logically contradictory manner, that does not exist because logical contradictions cannot exist.
why is
It's
that?
it's
You're saying there's
why can't logical contradictions exist? Like law of
right,
identity, law of excluded middle, law
right,
of
right,
non-contradiction?
right,
A thing
right.
cannot be itself and something else simultaneously?
Why not?
Because that would be a
Logic.
violation of the law of excluded middle, the law of
You're
identity, and the
not
law of
giving an example. You're just
okay,
stating.
I already gave you an example. The
What was
example
your
was
example?
a God that is omniscient, which is defined as knowing all true propositions infallibly, meaning that those
Uh-huh.
propositions that are true can never be otherwise, and that set of knowledge includes the true propositions of its own actions. Therefore, if you are also claiming that the God has agency or volition or a will, it can't do that. It can't
Okay.
have that because all of the true set of propositions that are its own actions, it knows them infallibly and they can't be otherwise. Therefore, that God cannot do anything other than what it already knows it's going to do, meaning that it can't choose to do something. It's simply a function that operates because it cannot operate any other way. This is what
So you're
Einstein was
I
identifying
don't
as
give
his
a fuck what Einstein
no, no,
said. So
I'm providing a
you're
reference.
saying that God doesn't have free will?
No, I'm saying that if you're defining it as omniscient, it
Hmm.
can't. These are two
Why is
logically
that?
contradictory
Why
concepts
is that? You didn't
because
explain that.
they're logically contradictory. I've already explained why.
Can I explain to you why it's not logically
Sure, if you
contradictory?
could tell me how you could choose to do something other than what you already know you're going to do.
Uh-huh. Okay. God exists outside of time. That's
That
why
that,
he
does, that doesn't
knows.
mean anything.
That's why he knows all. God
It
is
doesn't mean
super
anything.
time. It does mean something. If
No,
you
it
exist,
doesn't. It
will
simply
you
means that
let
a
me
period.
answer? Will
No,
you let me
no, I'm
talk?
no.
Or are you just going to talk over me?
Okay,
You can
he
rebut.
just said no if when you said can you let me answer? He just said no, so I'm gonna mute him.
Okay, he is muted. So if God exists outside of time, then he knows everything that's going to happen because he's outside of time. This is the statement: God knows the beginning from the end. He knows the difference, right? But if he's not constrained by time, he can enter into time at any point and alter anything he would like to. Does he do that? I don't know. There's no record of it. But he could if he wanted to. J.L. Warren has a faith-based system because he has no evidence that God doesn't exist. He just chose on faith to believe it.
Mute me. If you're just going to mute me and he's just going to let him lie about my position, I mean, that's on you, Vegas. Because what he's saying is just a straight up lie. He can't demonstrate. He's just making claims about me that he can't defend.
I did demonstrate it.
You didn't. You didn't. There is no. You do not have special psychic access to my mind. No matter what. No matter what your cult manual tells you. No matter what your cult manual tells you, you do not have psychic access to my mind.
What cult manual? What cult?
Your Bible, which I know better than you do. Okay.
No, you don't. You obviously don't. You don't. Just like you don't know your.
Really, I don't know it. Let's do a basic question, Dakota. What's the fourth book? What's the first book after the Gospels? Yeah, you have no idea. So yeah, I know the Bible better than you do. It's the Book of Acts.
No, you don't. You know the layout of it better.
In that sense, when it comes down to it, beliefs are what you are convinced of. Knowledge is regarding statements that you can make about external reality that are true, independent of mind and context.
You have no knowledge that God doesn't exist.
I have knowledge that certain. No, I have knowledge. I have knowledge of certain God. Vegas, I've got to be able to finish. I've got to be able to finish, dude.
You're assuming that God.
I'm not assuming anything. Logical contradictions cannot exist. If the God is defined in a logically contradictory fashion, it cannot exist.
Okay,
your Bible going to your Bible, going to your Bible is irrelevant.
One question. Did you move anywhere today from point A to point B?
Of course I did. I mean, human being.
Logic says, Zeno's argument against motion, pure logic. All motion is illusion because in order to get from A to B, you have to first transgress the half.
That doesn't apply to physics.
Transgress the half, you have to transgress the half of the half.
Zeno's paradox.
This is pure fucking logic.
No,
pure logic.
Math. No,
pure logic.
Here's another problem. Coded. No, Coded.
Pure logic.
Coded. Here's the problem. Vegas.
Logic is fallible.
Vegas, you gotta. He's wrong on that.
Logic
you are talking about
Zeno's argument against motion.
Zeno's paradox. Zeno's paradox applies in mathematics,
but it's pure fucking logic.
Vegas.
Pure logic.
Zeno's paradox applies in mathematics, but it doesn't apply in physics. Special relativity explains why Zeno's paradox fails. Okay? So no, you going to Zeno's arrow. Was technically it's called Zeno's.
So logic, hold on.
Stop.
Logic refuted logic.
Coded, you've got to stop crashing out, dude. You've got to stop crashing out.
Why
you've got to stop crashing out.
Why are you so emotional?
Can you mute this motherfucker, please?
Can you pause for a minute? Why are you
so emotional? I'm going to explain why you are wrong.
You're going to explain how logic.
I'm going to explain why you're wrong. No, because the field of your application is incorrect.
Let's define some
Vegas,
terms,
can you please shut this motherfucker
Vegas,
up?
Help him, Vegas, help him.
You keep muting me every time I go to school him.
Help him.
So I'm just gonna turn him down so I don't have to listen to him. So
wait, hold on.
Here's the problem. Here's why Coded is wrong on this. So in mathematics, when we're talking about just numbers in and of themselves, because numbers can go infinitely in either direction. Yes, there is an apparent paradox there that in order for an object to move from point A to point B, they would have to cross an infinite number of half distances in order to get there. So if it has to cross an infinite number of half distances, how does it still reach the target? That was Zeno's question. That's what he was questioning, is how does it get from point A to point B if it has to cross an infinite number of spaces? So the thing is that relativity, how space-time works and how objects in space work, solves that problem. Remember, Zeno's arrow was postulated centuries before the very idea of physics even came into play. So a greater understanding of how objects in space-time work solved that problem. All right.
Because
So
there's
we
no more half the
understand it's
distance.
a relativistic thing, not just a math thing. And
So
the
you just
mathematics of physics explains how that happens.
so you
So
just proved that logic fails to
no, I
accurately
didn't.
represent
No, I didn't
reality.
because no,
Yes, you
I
did.
didn't.
You did.
No,
You
I
did.
didn't because the
Did
laws of logic
did
are not
did
what you're
did
talking about,
did
coded.
did did did
Coded.
Zeno's
Okay,
paradox is pure
he's
logic,
crashing
bro.
out. He's
It's
just straight
pure
crashing out.
logic. Bro,
I've
where
already
do
owned
they
you on this. I've
if
already
you go to
completely owned you on this.
college,
Let me
if
ask
you
you
go
this,
to
Coded.
if you go
Can
to
you demonstrate
college,
that your God
jail,
exists independent of mind and context without begging the question?
I can.
Okay, please feel free to demonstrate that your God exists independently of mind and context without begging the question.
Okay. He just told me that until you believe, you'll never know
Begging the
him.
question.
Begged what question?
You beg the question that whatever you perceived
How,
that was
you
coming from
want
God,
wait, you want
coded.
proof? You want
No,
proof of God without referencing God. It's
no, no,
impossible,
no,
you
no, no, it's
retard.
not. It actually isn't. It actually isn't. This is how insanely incompetent you are at arguing this.
It's not
Okay. I do
incompetence. It's
this.
you. You're
I
full
do
of
this for a
yeah,
freaking
you do
living,
this
dude.
all the
I'll
time
explain
and
this for you. This is
you've
fantastic.
become an experienced bullshit artist.
I'll
That's
explain
all
this.
you
I'll
are.
explain this to you really, really well
So physics
for the
refutes
audience.
logic, JL. Physics
Vegas,
refutes
you
logic.
got to control this guy. You got to. I'll
Right,
explain why he's wrong on
because
this. I'll
JL
explain
Warren
why he's
can
wrong on
interrupt
this.
everything I say, but I
So
can't
here we
interrupt
go.
him.
So when you are saying that you are receiving revelation, okay, that entail, and you're saying that the revelation is coming from a God, that entails that the God must first necessarily exist. It must have the first order property of existence in order for it to be the thing that is revealing anything to you. So when you say that you're getting revelation from a God, you are assuming that the God exists to give you revelation. And on top of that, you have no mechanism to differentiate between what would be coming from a God and what would be basically your own mind being conditioned to believe that it is coming from a God. You must first demonstrate that the God exists in order to do any revealing in the first place. Then you have to demonstrate the mechanism that shows that what you are getting is coming from a God and not just coming from yourself, which you can't do. So you are begging the question. I
My
asked
sheep
you,
hear
can
my
you
voice
demonstrate
and the
if the God
voice of
exists
another they will
independently of
not
mind and context
follow.
without begging the question? You can't do that.
Show me your
Therefore,
proof.
belief in such an entity is unjustified and therefore unwarranted, which is
Show me
my position.
show me your proof that God doesn't exist.
Sure, a God that is defined defined in a logically contradictory way cannot exist. You define your God in a logically contradictory way. Your version of God does not exist.
How did I define my God in a logically
I've already
contradictory
explained that.
way?
I don't need to
I
go
know,
over it
but
again.
it doesn't make sense when you say
It
it.
does
I'm
make sense.
hoping that you'll make
For
some
those who
subtle
were
shift.
listening,
I'm hoping,
it does make
I'm
sense. You
hoping,
cannot
JL1.
define your God as being omniscient and having agency simultaneously. That there's a
I
logically
just
contradictory
showed you
state.
how I explained how
No,
that
you
could be
didn't. No, you went
possible.
to
Yes,
something
I did.
completely off in the
But
weeds
you
and didn't
didn't
do
want to
shit.
hear it because it
No, I've
interrupts
heard
your
what you said. I've
it
heard what you said in
interrupts
a
your
thousand other variations
faith-based
before.
belief system
And now
that God does not
you've
exist.
come full circle. You're just making the same bullshit claims again. You've got nothing, dude.
That's what
You
you
have
do.
nothing.
You
You
want to
use your Bible and you use your version of a
hold on.
God to
Hold
justify
on.
your narcissistic and antisocial behavior because you think your God
Narcissistic
will
and
defend you.
antisocial.
I mean,
Okay.
You're
hold
the
on. Can
one
I
that
step? Can I
denies the
step in here?
Christ, bro. Go ahead, Vips.
Can I step in here? He's attacking you personally, Coded. He's taking your personality and trying to apply it to a broader spectrum here. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Code is not perfect. We're just saying that there's a necessity here for us non-perfect people to come to a God that tells that, we've all fallen short. We've all sinned, right?
Yeah, which is
So
all nonsense because literally, like the very notion that your God is good is incoherent. And I can explain why it's
Oh my
incoherent
God.
if you want. It's
okay,
really,
so
really it's actually rather simple.
can I can I ask you a
Go.
question, JL?
Sure.
Do you think that the Ten Commandments, right, are good for society in general, and that we base our modern law off those Ten Commandments?
No, we
Do you
don't.
think?
No, we don't. We don't actually. if you simply go by history, the Ten Commandments themselves, what is in the Ten Commandments, as opposed to like the first like three of them, the Ten Commandments are basically, codified behavior, codified tenets for behavior that were taken from the Code of Hammurabi, which themselves were taken from prior things. These things we understand in a tribalistic notion. They've been a part of our history forever. Christianity. I'm answering this question, Cody. Shut up.
I know. I
And
heard
so
you, and I'm stating that you're not
look at
giving
basic
proof,
human history and the
you're just
record of human
making
history through
assertions.
anthropology. We can understand that these are basically codes of behavior that were understood by tribalistic communities, and they simply wrote them down. We understood these things long before Christianity ever rose its head. We see these things in the Bhagavad Gita. We see concepts of them in the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas in texts that predate the Bible by thousands of years. The
Give
notion
an example,
of
please.
not,
Give a
the
reference,
notion of
please.
not, the notion
Give
of
a
not,
reference, please.
the notion of not attacking your
reference.
fellow man who's a part of your tribe
Citation
has been
needed.
well understood for the survival of the tribe. It's really, really simple. Christianity does not hold the corner on moral distinctions.
The law is not, the Ten Commandments aren't Christianity. That's the Old Testament. That's the Hebrew faith.
Doesn't
That's
matter.
how
It's
little
irrelevant.
it does matter. That's how little you know about it.
No,
The
I know
Ten
way more. I actually,
the
I
Ten-
can
you
demonstrate.
don't
I know more than
You
you do.
don't know way more. You think you
I
do
do.
because you've read other people's commentaries.
No,
but
I've done the work myself.
You
dude.
haven't read the source material.
I have read the source
That's
material
why
multiple times.
The Old Testament.
That's
The Old
why,
Testament
J.L.
is
Warren,
comprehensive
you don't know.
from the beginning, the very beginning. The Old Testament has started from the very beginning, so there's nothing
What do you
behind
mean it started
the
from the very
Old
beginning?
Testament.
What do you mean it started from the very
You
beginning?
you were you were you were explaining that there were tribalistic values prior to the Old Testament. That's a fallacy in itself.
No,
The
it's not.
Old Testament.
Going back to the Mesopotamians. Okay,
The Old Testament.
Mesopotamia predates anything in Christianity by thousands of years, dude.
The Old Testament encompasses since day one, so there's nothing
What do
prior
you mean?
to the Old Testament.
What do you mean since day one? Are you a young Earth creationist?
Adam walked with God in the
Shut up, Cody. I'm talking with Vegas.
The day.
Wait, are you a young Earth creationist?
I agree. Yes, I agree with what Code is saying right now. Yes, Adam and Eve.
You think that the age of the Earth is like 6,000 years old?
He's talking about something else. But the age of the Earth has no bearing on the fact that Adam walked in the garden.
Okay, so why do we have texts? Why do we have texts that are dated thousands of years older than the Bible?
I don't know why. Because it wasn't written until what's in the Bible was written by Moses, inspired by
Moses
God.
didn't exist, dude. I'm sorry to tell you.
Moses didn't exist. Wow,
Moses did not exist.
G2 called you to refute me, and now you're saying his faith is bullshit.
Yeah, you're not corroborating. You're not helping G2's argument at all. You're not corroborating G2's. G2 believes in Moses. You're over here now. You're refuting G2's ideology. So it doesn't make any sense.
I don't know who G2 is.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't. I don't know who that. I don't know what that name is.
Then who sent you
the link to come here?
None of your business. I was sent the link.
Why are you so afraid to reveal?
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to reveal it. I know your behavior coded, and I don't need to reveal sources to risk you retaliating against them.
Behavior, and I don't have to cry to other people.
I don't need to reveal people's names to risk you retaliating against them like you like to do.
Retaliate? You're a gang, you fuckstick. You're a gang of douchebags.
This ignorant fool.
This is the guy who supported Irish Demon. This is the guy who supported Irish Demon.
None of this is relevant.
This is the guy who supported Irish Demon. The con man.
So G2, do you support this guy because he just denied Moses' existence? G2, do you support this guy? He just denied the existence of.
Yeah, Moses was a legendary figure. Moses didn't exist. That's why there's no record of him anywhere other than in the Torah.
That used to be an argument about King David till about 20 years ago.
Because there are records of King David outside of the Bible.
Not until 20 years ago. So the same argument about David being an amalgamation
The
of
stupidest crap I've
many
ever heard.
men and not an individual.
So
That
anyway,
was the same argument about
so
David.
Coded's got nothing. His God doesn't exist. So I didn't actually come to rescue anybody. I was sent the deal to come over here and own Coded, which I have successfully done. So
No, you haven't. All you
you
did was
can't.
show that
I asked
logic.
you.
All you did was
If you
show
could
that
demonstrate if
logic
your God
has
exists.
failures.
I asked you to demonstrate your God exists.
All you
independent of
did was
God.
show that
Okay,
logic has failures. All you did
No, I
was show
didn't.
that logic
You
has
no, I
failures.
didn't. Depends.
Yeah, you did.
Number one,
You can't
you're
traverse
talking
the half
about
of the
number
half.
one. Coded. Shut up. You're talking about mathematics. You're talking about mathematics in two different fields. You're talking about mathematics in two different
George
fields, and I'm
Washington
talking about
chopped
the
down a cherry
classical laws
tree
of
and couldn't lie
logic,
about it.
which
Abraham Lincoln
pertain
walked a
to
million
identity,
miles to give a book
non-contradiction, and
back.
excluded middle. See, he crashes out when he knows
Come
he's
on,
trapped.
schoolboy. Come on,
This is the
schoolboy.
best. This is the
Come
best
on,
Christianity has to
schoolboy.
offer.
Come on, schoolboy. You're the
So,
best that
So,
atheism has
so
to
right there,
offer.
G2 does not agree with JL. Thank you for
Okay.
clarifying.
So what? A lot of people don't agree with me. I'm not a mythicist, but it's well understood by biblical scholarship that Moses was a legendary figure. Moses didn't actually physically exist
The
in the
same thing was said about David until
world. It
they
doesn't matter. I don't
discovered
get. Don't give a shit.
that
I don't give a
referenced
shit.
him. But
The
so
very
you're
Okay,
scholarship
let
of
me ask
the
him
very
this. Let me
scholarship
ask
of
him.
your faith
methodologies that
disagrees
have
with you.
been
Go ahead.
proved to be
Vegas,
false.
Let me
tell
ask.
to
Let me
hear-
ask him this.
tell me to hear what you got to shut him up.
Let me ask him this, since he's a heavy proponent of only science and anthropology. Are you aware that they have
That's
found?
not what it's not at all representative of me at all. Because you
Okay,
don't know my
are you
philosophical
aware?
you don't know my philosophical positions at all, dude. Don't
Your
Are
assume
you
you do.
aware,
philosophical what?
dude? Hold on, dude. Hold on.
I'm
Are you
listening.
aware that they have found giant, massive skeletal remains of human-like
All debunked.
skeletons
All debunked.
in? Huh?
All debunked.
No, in fact, it was
Yes,
no.
yeah, they
They
have.
literally archaeologists have
I've
found
worked on the project.
literal.
Vegas. I've worked on the projects that have debunked them. They are debunked. None of those are real.
He worked on the projects that debunked him.
I've worked on a few of them. Yes,
It's
I've
a
worked on
bunch
a
of
few of them. Yes,
long-haired weirdos.
those
in a
are debunked.
basement
The
that
images
don't
that you're seeing,
shower or
the images you're seeing are fabricated.
I don't believe any of those giant men reports are credible, but Vegas Vips could have seen something I haven't seen.
Yeah, I mean, I've studied it extensively. Just like all the stuff from Ron Wyatt, all the stuff about found chariots at the bottom of the Red Sea, that was debunked. Found the Ark, that was debunked. Found a nail with the blood of Christ on it, that was debunked. Found the Ark of the Covenant, that was debunked. There are
Zeno's logical
there are
argument
many
against
grifters
motion
out there.
debunked.
There are many
Debunked.
grifters. It's
Logic
not
fails.
debunked. You're just
Debunked.
applying
Logic
it coded.
fails.
It's not
Debunked.
debunked. It's not
Debunked.
debunked. You're just applying
Debunked.
it wrong.
You can't. I'm not applying anything. That's what
You
Zeno
are.
said.
You're talking
Zeno
about
said-
math. You're talking
Zeno
about math.
said you can't traverse the half of the half. Now you're saying, well, that's
Anyway,
mathematics,
he's
physics.
he's
Physics
crashing.
totally
He's
debunks
crashing out. There's
mathematics
really no
and
point.
logic.
He's crashing out. There's really no point in talking to
I'm
him.
not
so,
crashing
It's
out.
not crashing
I'm
out.
not
You have raised your voice several times as well.
Right.
I
And
have
I'm not-
because I'm trying to finish a
I'm
point,
not-
and he
So
can't
I could
help.
what I'm
classify
doing
you as
out.
quote
That's what I'm
crashing out
trying
as
to do,
well.
too. I'm
So
not
we've all
singing
crashed
like
out at one
Jesus.
point.
So
If
I'm
that's
sitting here. I'm
your
sitting here like
basis.
I'm sitting here like all the time. No.
Did
I'm
we
not.
ask you to come here, Warren?
No,
you
I
came here to
shut.
bail
I came
out.
here to shut. I came
You
here to
came
shut you
here
down,
because
so.
your buddy G2.
So I guess the
is getting
definition of
fucking
crashing out is
ass-raped.
raising your voice.
No, the definition of
an
crashing out. The definition of crashing out is what that asshole does there.
You were doing the same thing. I picked it up after you started
I
doing
wasn't.
it.
I was trying to finish a thought that
No,
you kept
hey,
interrupting,
retard,
like you're doing
retard.
now. Like
you're
doing
interrupting
now.
me. I was talking. You're interrupting. You came. You gave a bloody blah bloviating spiel.
You can't even respond to what I said.
Listen, dipshit.
You don't even know how.
Dipshit.
You don't have the philosophical acumen to.
You just keep interrupting.
You don't have the philosophical acumen.
You
to
just keep interrupting. You just keep interrupting. Because you know
you don't have the philosophical
and
acumen.
You know my
to go
solves
toe-to-toe
for
with me.
your bloviating.
Okay, that may be a true statement. You may have more acumen, right, in this realm. Obviously, I could definitely gauge you might be whatever you claim you are. You might be a full-on PhD anthropologist, but there are several factors outside of the context of the Bible that prove the existence of God.
Really,
Am
name
I
one.
equipped? Am I equipped to debate you right now offhand? No. Is
Because none of
Coded
them do.
equipped to debate you right now on that?
None of
I
them
don't
do.
know.
I've studied extensively the history, especially the history surrounding the Bible and what comes after the Bible. If you want to point at things like like Thales, if you want to point at Tacitus, if you want to point at Samosata, if you want to point at Pliny the Younger, like
All of
anything
this
you
shit.
point at is all going to be post the Bible. Okay, any stories that you have that come from the Bible, when you're sourcing the Bible, those stories themselves, when they were written decades after the fact by unknown authors over an unknown spans of time. Not to mention, you're talking about almost 1900 years of ecumenical politics influencing and Christian interpolation, influencing what goes into the Bible, what stories are included, what stories are not included, so on and so forth. The problem is that just going to the Bible itself, just the book in and of itself, all right, the thing is loaded with contradictions. It's loaded with
No,
scientific
it's not.
inaccuracies. It's
Name a
loaded. Yes, it is.
contradiction. Name a contradiction.
The
Name a
contradiction in
one.
I
It's
am.
loaded with them.
I
You should be able
am.
to
It
name one.
is.
Name
I'm
one.
trying
Name
to.
one.
Stop
Name
repeating
one.
yourself, and I
Name
will.
it. Name it.
The best contradiction I can go. The best contradiction I can indicate is the one between Book of Matthew and Book of Luke when they're talking about Jesus's early days. The one Matthew puts Luke in Jerusalem, the other one puts him in Egypt in order to avoid the census of Herod, and so he can't be in two places at the same time. So there you go.
So
There's also other contradictions as well,
hold on.
and the events
Let's
that
just address
took
the one.
place. We don't
Let's
need
address
to.
the one. Yeah,
We don't need to.
do.
I'm talking to
Yeah, we do.
Vegas. I'm
No, you
talking
were
to
answering
Vegas.
my question.
I already
You were
did.
answering my
I
question.
already did.
You were
Okay? If
answering
you
my
knew
question.
your Bible,
Can you
would
mute
know,
him
you
for
would
1
know
second,
this.
Vegas,
But
so I can
nonetheless,
get a word in edgewise?
so
Can you mute him
in that
for
sense,
1 second?
when you're going to the Bible and you're appealing to the Bible, it is chock full. Essentially, it's got all the
Hold
problems.
on, hold on.
It's got the problems in and of itself.
I want to give Coded a response. Time for response, please.
For what?
So one author says Jesus was in Jerusalem. One author says he was down in Egypt.
Yes.
How is that a contradiction?
Because it can't be in two places simultaneously.
Right, we know that already, dipshit. How old was he in the book of Matthew when Matthew referenced him? How old was he in the book of Luke when? Right,
they don't specifically state an
so
age.
you can't set context of time.
No, yes, we can.
He could have been in Israel when he was 3, and he could have been in Egypt when he was 2. You dumb fuck.
Yes, we can.
Your contradiction is not a contradiction.
Coded. The time of Herod's census is what we're referencing. At the time of Herod's census,
how long did that census take? A fucking day?
At the time of Herod's census, he was either in Jerusalem or he was in Egypt. He can't be in both places.
Did everybody just call up Herod and say, "Here's my address, bro"? That census took time, a lot of fucking time. Enough time that you could have been in Jerusalem at the beginning of it and Egypt at the end of it.
Nonetheless, moving on from that, when you're
Coded disproved what I call a contradiction. So I got to move on.
I've already shown how.
It's not a contradiction.
When you're going to the Bible, you're dealing with a lot of hearsay. You're dealing with a lot of stories that were being told about events that people were told had happened, and anything that's coming after it. Lucian of Samosata, Celsus, any individuals that were 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th century. These individuals are basically repeating the things that they had heard and critiquing the stories as they had heard them. And so when you go to the Bible is a book. It's no different than any other like supposed holy text, no different than the Quran or the Vedas, or the Bhagavad Gita, or the Tao Te Ching, or anything like that. So you can't point to the Bible as being evidence of the God, because the God would first have to exist. It'd have to have the first order property of existence in order for the Bible to be evidence of it. Otherwise, it is just another book that you are special pleading for, while ignoring all the other texts that say that make the same claims about their gods. Okay, that's the problem. So the idea that the God exists, okay, can that be demonstrated to be true, independent, meaning that it exists independently of mind and context as a concrete thing instead of an abstracta in your mind?
Yes, it can.
Without begging the question. That's the problem, and you can't do that. You always beg the question.
That's why Jesus came. Because
that's a claim. That's a claim. But all the evidence goes. I'm not a mythicist, so I don't hold that Jesus didn't exist. If there was a character named Yeshua who wandered around Iron Age Palestine, then he was nothing more than the David Koresh of Iron Age Palestine. He was a heretical cult leader who preached against He was a heretical cult leader who preached against the authorities and was summarily executed for heresy. That's
He was
pretty much it.
heretical. He was
He
heretical.
was. He preached heretical Second
G2
Temple
says he was a
Judaism.
diehard Jew.
He taught
You need to
heretical
work out your
he
shit
taught
on your own
heretical
fucking
Second Temple
side first.
Judaism. He taught heretical Second Temple Judaism.
Heretical. What was heretical about Jesus's message?
He was espousing that Yahweh was a God above all others, when that is
He
not the
is.
position of Yahweh in the pantheon.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Learn your
He is-
fucking history, dude.
So which God did Yahweh say he was subservient?
And not to mention, he went up against the Pharisees and everything with how they were establishing rules in regards to their religion. He was saying that these things are
because
incorrect.
they
Yahweh
were
speaks
the
this.
ones that
He
were
was
heretical.
executed for heresy.
He was
Okay?
executed for blasphemy.
And heresy. It was a formal
Blasphemy.
charge.
Heresy is not the fucking. He was killed for blasphemy.
He was and heresy. He was branded a heretic. So,
He was
if anything,
branded
if
a
the individual
blasphemer.
did in fact exist, which I don't have a
The
problem with, if
heretics
he
were the
did, he
Pharisees.
was nothing more than the David Koresh of Iron Age Palestine. He convinced a bunch of followers about his version of their God. He preached Second Temple Judaism. He went up against the authorities, and he was summarily executed for that. The Jews passed, when the Pharisees passed him off to the Romans, and the Romans meted out their punishment. Okay,
JL,
that's it.
JL, does David Koresh's cult exist today?
The Branch Davidians, yes. In some, yes, they do still exist in a small form, but the version that David Koresh was running around with, that like those, they don't. But the Branch Davidians did not die with him.
No, but his version of Branch Davidianism died.
Yeah,
why is it that
there's still people? There's still people that are
Okay.
Branch Davidians.
So why is it that you can't associate Jesus with David Koresh?
Sure,
Because after the death of Jesus, the Christian movement, originally called the Way, despite all pressure
it's
and
irrelevant.
prejudice against it, prospered in the world.
It's irrelevant.
Literally, the teachings of Christ have changed the face of the world.
It's irrelevant.
That makes it relevant.
No, it's not. It's irrelevant because that's an appeal to popularity. That's an argument to add
popular. I'm not appealing to popularity.
That's an argument to add popular.
Warren,
when the greatest militaristic power. When the greatest militaristic power in the world. When the greatest militaristic power. When the greatest militaristic power in the world at the time adopts the particular ideology and then spreads that ideology westward at the tip of the sword, you're going to get that influence. But it doesn't mean that God exists.
Even PhD Tony says you're full of shit.
He doesn't say
the movement grew and changed the face of the earth and the way human beings interact with each other. That is a testament to its validity.
Is there any way we can get GED Tony in here to give a TED Talk?
Well, GED Tony says J.L. Warren's full of shit, so that
I guarantee you he doesn't. I guarantee you he doesn't.
He said your argument's full of holes, and
no,
he doesn't add. Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No,
I'll play the clip. I'll play the clip for you tomorrow. I'll play the clip for you tomorrow.
You are a liar.
You might not have been there when he said it, but he said it.
Your background?
That would be kind of impossible because I'm pretty much present for everything Tony does.
Everything? That's why
I'm either in his live streams during his videos or I'm on stage with him.
If you're present for everything PhD Tony does, that would explain why he's never had children.
He's in Australia.
Background?
What does that even? Yeah, go ahead. What's up? What about my background?
Yeah, I'm just curious. What's your background in academics?
So, predominantly, my education is in forensic psychology with a focus on pathology. Is where I started. But concepts like pretty much all of science has always been a big interest for me. It's where I excelled when I was taking my ACT, and my SAT. It's just where my mind really is. So when I was in college, I took ridiculous other amounts of courses in order to kind of like expand my knowledge in those. Psychology and forensic psychology led me into the concepts of like philosophy and then understanding how people operate, why they operate, how they reason, stuff like that. Then of course pathology led me into neuroscience and a number of other things. So, and I constantly am educating myself and reading. I read voraciously and I stay up as best I can on the latest papers that are being published about stuff. So but
Okay, so
predominantly forensic
you start
psychology is where it started.
okay, so you started in forensic psychology and you branched out, you said, with other aspects. What degrees do you currently have
Currently right now I have my bachelor's.
in
So I
forensics?
wasn't able to afford I wasn't able to. I was paying my own way through college. I was able to pay.
You have a fucking bachelor's?
I was
All
able
this
to pay my.
bullshit talk about how
I was.
educated you are?
Can I
You have a
finish? Can I
fucking
finish my
bachelor's?
statement, please?
Yeah,
So
finish finish
I was unable
bloviating
to.
on how
I
great your
was paying. I
bachelor
was
degree
paying
is.
my own way through college, and I was unable to afford my master's degree just because the tuition was killing me, and I was working. Like I was working at nights and going to school during the day, and the amount of money I would either. I was faced with a choice: either go into debt that I probably would never be able to pay off for like maybe decades and be saddled with that debt, or start my career in another direction. And I did. So I finished my degree and then I proceeded on from there and decided, you know what? I went back and I got my associates in theater and performance because I love the theater and I'm an actor and I'm a filmmaker as well. I'm a screenwriter and I love doing that stuff. That was like my two passions in life was psychology and acting, and they kind of like go hand in hand. And so I pursued that and I turned that into a career in which I made my own production company. And now I screenwrite for a living and I do this kind of stuff. So I pretty much, I work for myself. I have my own production company and I do that stuff. But I
What
still,
kind of
What you do
films have you
right in
produced?
touch, JL.
well, I mean, stuff that I've written. I mean, there's things I've produced as far
Something
as
you've
like,
written, bro.
yeah. I
Producing
mean,
isn't right.
all you have to do is check out my IMDb.
Well,
Plus, I'm a voice actor. I'm an actor.
what's
Stuff like
your
that.
what do
What's your
you
IMBD?
consider? Uh-oh, now he's got to give his name out. He doesn't know his own IMDb.
Relax.
Yeah.
Do any of your screenplays have the soundtrack that has bounce chicka bounce bounce?
Are you
I
like
know what you're
okay?
inferring.
Are you like okay, dude?
I'm fine, bro. I'm doing my imitation of G2
He's
for you.
he's trying to infer that you may have. He's
I
trying
do
to.
prawn. Yeah, I understand what he's
Yeah,
trying to do, and
Prawn.
I don't get it.
No,
So
if I was going to make a shrimp
it's not
reference,
my
it would be the
stream. It's
G2.
Vegas's stream. I'm trying not to use language that can get him shut down.
I
Set
appreciate
porn,
it.
porn, words, dirty
Coded.
words.
Now I gotta take it down.
God damn it. Sorry, Veps. You could say porn on my
No,
stream tomorrow.
the algorithm can take you
The
down.
algorithm. Oh my
Their
God.
algorithm is gonna get
God
my
isn't
ass.
real, but the algorithm is going to get you.
So is this like this is the best he's
No, no,
got?
no, no, no. I appreciate you, man. I'm just curious about your IMBD stuff.
Vips does genuinely appreciate
Cool.
you. I think you're a
I
fucking
can
joke,
message
though.
it. I can message it to you. So
No, I am generally curious. I mean, you seem like a very knowledgeable dude. It's just I understand your question. You're trying to ask me or Coded if we can explain God without using the context of the Bible. There are people that can do that. I'm not
no, they
necessarily
can't.
the
They
best
can't
one
either.
equipped to do that right now,
That's the
but
problem.
Well,
They can't
the,
either.
well, this is their rationale. The first thing is to just make every disclaimer and insult toward a sacred text that you can, and then throw the Bible out, which is God's communication to humanity.
How do I
So
know that it's God's
let me finish.
communication?
Let me
No,
finish
how
what
do
I'm
you
saying.
know that it's God's
Let,
communication?
I know you know it because you spend a
I,
lot of time
I
trying to
don't. I
discredit
know
it.
it's a book
I
that
know you
people
know.
wrote.
Can I
It's a
finish what
collection
I
of
was
books that
saying
were
before
written
you
by
start these
people.
side fucking nonsense
Coded.
bullshit?
It's a collection of books that were
Bro,
written by
you
people who
want to get
believed the thing.
you want
Just
to
because
get
they
rid
believed it doesn't make it real.
you want to get rid of the Bible because it is the evidence of God.
No, it's
You
not.
know it. Hold on. You know it's the evidence of
Oh,
God. That's why
this guy
you
just
spend so
whatever, dude.
much fucking
hold
time
on, hold on,
trying to
hold on, hold on,
discredit
hold
it.
on.
That's
No, no, no,
actually
no, no,
not
no,
the
no.
reason. I was like, Vegas, that's actually not the reason why I focus my content on that. I could explain that, but Cody would probably interrupt me. There's a reason I focus predominantly on Christianity, and it's not for the reasons that Cody is putting forward.
Bro, I
Wait,
didn't
so
say what
you have a preference on refuting Christianity as opposed
So
to other religions?
I live in America, and I respond to everybody. I respond to Muslims. I respond to Jews. I respond to Hindus. I respond to all theistic claims. Okay, but The majority of my work is predominantly focused on Christianity because I live in America. Okay, Christianity is the predominant religion here in America, although it is declining. And the problem is that we have a grouping of individuals in this nation that are attempting to influence legislation that would force the out groups, the non-Christians, to live under the banner of their ideology, which flies in the face of the secular founding of this country. And so I focus on that in order to give people the tools and information they need in order to countermand what they're trying to do.
Well,
so that's why.
I agree with what JL said. Christianity should not be forced on anyone, and it's fruitless and pointless to force it on anyone. You have to come to God on your own, or you don't come at all. You don't come.
So in that sense, because there is an active effort to try and do this, to turn the United States of America into a Christian ethno state and with a theocratic autocracy, I have a problem with that. And so
there's no attempt to do that in America.
There is an attempt to do this called Project 2025. Look it up. So
Project 2025 is all fucking horse shit.
So I'm focusing, whatever, dude. So I'm focusing predominantly on that content.
Whatever, dude. Whatever, dude. Project 2025. Project 2025 is the biggest polarizing manual referenced in the last 2 years. It's designed.
And the government is currently enacting it as we speak.
Which part of 2025 are they in?
They're going down it step by step. What do you think?
Which part are they? You said they're doing it now.
I'm trying to answer your question, you fucking idiot.
You're not. You're mumbling around.
I'm trying to answer your question, you fucking idiot.
You're doing a lot of replacing
the vast majority of
Why so much hostility? Come on.
Because he keeps interrupting me.
He hates God. He hates God.
Fuck up, Cody.
God doesn't even exist.
That's not true. We don't know that. Maybe he is. Maybe he is truly seeking. We don't know that.
He's not.
He just makes blatant statements. About
are you seeking God, J.L. Warren? Are you seeking God?
I seek truth.
Are you seeking God?
I seek truth.
Are you seeking God?
I seek truth. If God happens to exist and that is a true thing, then I will find it.
So are you seeking God?
I'm seeking truth.
Which truth? Moral
any truth.
Or
just that which is true. That which is true. Do you
understand? No, I think he's being honest. I think he wants
Coded. Let me explain this to you. If there is a God and it exists, and that is a true thing, then obviously that would be included in the realm of things that are true. If I'm seeking truth, then of course it would be included.
If you go around saying you have proof God doesn't exist, why would he reveal himself to you? You keep telling his children
if your God exists,
No, hold on. I think he's actually being.
That would be on it.
I think he's actually being honest with us.
Argument from divine hiddenness. It's that simple.
I think he's actually being honest with us. I think he actually is trying to seek the truth, unlike certain people like Hill Pirate Studios, who actually just, I don't know, they just make everything a sarcastic joke. But this guy, I think he's actually seeking the truth, and he's actually morally honest with us, unlike some other people.
The concept being is that I am more interested in what is true than my feelings. Because how I feel about a particular thing doesn't indicate truth. Okay, it may indicate that it has it may be important to me or whatever like this, but that's irrelevant to what is true. Now, Coded, if you understood what philosophy of truth was, or if you even knew what your own philosophy, like if I were to ask you, Coded, what is your philosophy of truth? Can you answer that question?
Truth is everything that's irrefutable.
Okay, that's not a philosophy of truth.
No, if
it's either correspondence, coherence, pragmatic, semantic, or rhetorical.
Hold on.
What is your philosophy of truth?
I just told you what it was.
You didn't. You made something up. That's not a philosophy of truth.
Repeat what I said. It's not a philosophy of truth.
You said that which is irrefutable.
Under your, if I don't name an academic category that you have boxed up yourself, then what I say to you,
I haven't boxed it up, dude. I didn't invent philosophy, dude.
No, but philosophy is invented. It's specific methodologies. Philosophy is the love of wisdom. There are different
Damn, you made him laugh,
methodologies to
dude.
get. Hold
This
on,
dude
there
is
are
saying
different.
he's such a
Right,
joke,
because
man.
when
How
he's
does
confronted,
anyone take
Ho-
this person
can you fucking
seriously?
let me
He has
answer?
no idea what he's fucking talking about. This is
Of
the
course you would
dumbest shit
think that because
ever.
you've never fucking listened.
This is the dumbest shit ever.
Shut
Like
the
he has
fuck up.
absolutely
How many
no
different
concept of
how many
philosophy and
different
its
philosophies
basics.
did you
Like
just
he
name?
couldn't tell
How
me. He
many
couldn't tell me
different
what the difference is.
philosophies
He
did
couldn't tell
you
me what
just
like the
name?
logical
How many
structure of
different
like
philosophies
modus
did
ponens or
you
modus
just
tollens
name,
is.
JL?
The guy doesn't even know
See,
what
now
rules
he
of
knows
inference
he
are.
trapped himself.
Okay, he's beyond stupid. Why does
How
anyone
many
take this person
different
seriously?
philosophies did you just name, JL?
I didn't name any philosophies, you
Yeah,
dumbass.
you did. You said pragmatism. What else did you say?
How many
Those
philosophies
are
of truth?
philosophies.
How many
Those
philosophies
are
of truth?
philosophies.
Hang on.
You made a list of.
Hang on a
You
second.
made a. See, you won't fucking listen.
No, hang on a
You
second.
made a list of
Philosophies
philosophies.
of
Relist
truth.
your philosophies.
Okay,
Relist them.
philosophies of
Relist
truth.
them.
I am.
Relist them.
I am. Philosophies of truth include coherence theory, correspondence theory, rhetorical theory, semantic theory, and pragmatic theory.
Okay.
Now, do you
Now,
understand what
but
those
absolutely.
fields
Hold
are
on.
talking
I
about?
do.
Now, here's the
I
question.
absolutely
Here's
do.
the
I
question.
absolutely do.
No,
I do.
Coded.
Let me ask you
Okay,
a
okay.
question.
You tell me what rhetorical theory is.
When did pragmatism?
You can't. You
when
can't.
was pragmatism invented?
That's
When
not
was
what pragmatism is, you
invented,
dumbass.
And who invented it? When was pragmatism invented and who invented it?
That's not what pragmatism is. Pragmatism
when
itself
was pragmatism? The philosophy
Vegas,
pragmatism is the 1800s. It's the only continental.
That's not pragmatic theory of truth.
It's
You dumbass.
invented by men. It's
You're talking about two
invented
different
by
things.
men.
You're
You
talking about
just
two different
named
things.
several philosophies of truth. Which one is right, JL?
Stupid.
Hold on. Hey,
So-
guys, hold on. Time
here's-
out.
Okay, go ahead, Vegas.
Before we proceed any further, is there any way I can get your IMBD?
I'll message it to you. So,
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Out loud.
so to explain where Coded is screwing up here, when he's talking about like a pragmatist, like pragmatism when it comes to worldviews, pragmatism itself is different from pragmatic theory of truth. Okay, those are two different concepts.
You
All right?
said pragmatism. Pragmatism was not invented until
That's
the
not what I said at
1800s
all,
in
dude. You're
America.
not listening.
John Dewey,
Yeah.
William James,
Pragmatic theory
Oliver
of
Wendell
truth.
Holmes.
I
They're
said
the founders
correspondence.
of
I
pragmatism.
said
You
correspondence.
have all these different
coherence,
philosophies of truth.
correspondence.
Which one is right?
Okay, I'm trying to explain that to you. All right, there is no one singular correct one because each one of them deals with different states. Okay, correspondence theory is not the same as coherence theory. It is not the same as pragmatic theory or rhetorical theory or semantic theory. Okay, my personal philosophy of truth is correspondence theory pillared upon coherence theory and pragmatic theory. Now, the reason I structure my philosophy of truth that way is because correspondence theory is that which is true, is that which corresponds with reality. Coherence theory are those things that are true that correspond with logical consistency. And pragmatic theory is those that are true are those that are parsimonious. Okay, but it doesn't make absolute statements. So it'll keep pragmatic theory and coherence theory keep me open to simply not saying, oh, it corresponds with reality and that's all I need. No, that's intellectually dishonest. So I pillar it upon coherence theory to ensure that my logical consistency is maintained and pragmatic so that I am as parsimonious as I can be so I'm not multiplying my entities unnecessarily. Okay? I have no real use for rhetorical or semantic because those go towards past statements and things that are essentially things that are true by tautology. And so I really have no use for them. But although they are still applied in a way, but my personal philosophy of truth, as I've just explained it to you, okay? So, like, if I were to ask you, Coded, what's your philosophy of truth? You'd likely say that you likely agree with correspondence theory. Vast majority of people are correspondence theorists. That which corresponds with reality is that which is true. Okay,
No,
but
I'm a
that's not enough
I'm a
because that can
pragmatist.
lead you
I
down
don't
blind
think you
alleys
know what
that a thing
pragmatism is.
appears to correspond with reality, you then hold it to be true, which is why if a magician does a thing and it looks like magic and it seems to correspond with reality, well, then you start believing magic is real. But that doesn't jive with coherence theory, that a thing can't be in two places simultaneously, that violation of the laws of logic. So you want to make sure you're logically consistent as well as corresponding with reality, and the most parsimonious, which is with the principle of parsimony is Occam's razor, not multiplying your entities unnecessarily, which
JL,
is what
magic is real. Magic is real.
No, it's not.
It's the art of illusion. It's the art of
Illusion is different from
deception.
magic, dude.
It's real, dude.
Anyway, so nonetheless,
That's what
I've
it is.
given
JL,
Conan like a
pragmatism didn't
philosophy.
come into being
You're
codified until the late 1800s.
You're still talking about something different. So nonetheless,
What
I've
you
given
named
you
all
a
these.
I've given you a philosophy 101 lesson, and I've told you what begging the question is. Begging the question is assuming the truth of your conclusion. Your conclusion being God exists. Assuming the truth of that in your premises that the Bible comes from God. Okay. So here's the problem. Can you
You don't
demonstrate
believe in semantics, but that's what you're doing right now.
Can you demonstrate that your God exists independently of mind and context, meaning that it is a concrete thing that is not subsistent upon mind to exist? It's concrete, not abstracta. Can you demonstrate that it exists without begging the question?
You can't demonstrate anything exists without
Sure I can.
involving mind.
Sure I can.
Your senses are all filtered through your
This is
mind.
not an answer to the
and
question.
without your senses,
This is not an
you
answer to the
can't
question.
perceive a fucking thing.
This
It
is-
is an
this is-
answer.
this
It's
is not an
outside
answer to
the
the
realm
question.
of shit that you fucking memorized. So
This is-
you don't
this
have
is
a
not- this is
memorized
not the
counter
question.
to it.
Like I said,
You
Vegas,
can't take
this
mind out of
child,
it.
this
Mind is
man-child
in
here does not have
everything.
the philosophical acumen to even talk about these subjects. When you hear him reading out of the Bible, he has no business doing that
I have no
because he
business
does
reading
not
from the
understand.
Bible.
He does not understand the philosophical concepts behind what he's reading, and he doesn't even understand the text itself. So
You're so full of shit. It's amazing. You tell me how you recognize, perceive, and communicate knowledge of something without involving mind in it.
that's not where that comes from. We're talking about demonstrating that things exist independently of mind and context. External reality.
Nothing exists independent of your mind.
Yes, it does. If
No,
I
it doesn't.
if I die,
hold on.
if I die,
Let me
continues-
rephrase what I said.
I die, the
You
world continues
can't
spinning.
prove. You're asking me for proof without mind. You can't prove.
No, that's not what I'm
anything
asking.
exists.
See, Coded,
Everything
that
you,
tells me
every
right
one
there.
of your
No,
senses
Coded, that
has
tells
to
me right
filter
there.
through
That tells
your
me right there.
mind.
You did not understand the question that I'm asking you, and I'm
Ask
trying
the
to
same-
ask it
ask the
as
question again,
slowly.
and we'll
I'm
see
trying
if
to
you
ask it
ask
as
the
slowly as I
same-
can. I'm
Ask
trying
the
to ask the question as
same
slowly as I
question
can.
again.
I'm not
I'm
asking you that
you
question.
slowly.
You
Ask the
fundamentally don't
same
understand the
question
question that I'm
again
asking you. So I'll
without
ask it again.
altering
I'll
the
ask it again
question.
and show that you can't answer it. Can you demonstrate that your God exists independently of mind and context, meaning that it is a concrete thing, not an abstracta, without begging the question?
You can't prove anything exists.
That's not an answer. That is a dodge.
You
So
just
there you
interrupted
go.
me.
For the
Hold
live
on,
chat.
hold on. You
There
interrupted
you
me
go.
before I finished what I
That's
was
a
saying,
dodge.
and
He
then
can't
you
answer
jumped
it.
to it's a
His God
dodge.
exists is nothing more than an
Time
abstracta in
out.
his mind.
Time out. Time
There
out,
you
guys. Time out. Mr. JL, are you familiar with the 200 IQ man?
No.
Okay, well, this man allegedly has a 200 IQ, and he talks
Allegedly.
about how there is life after death indefinitely.
Sure. Can he demonstrate it to be true?
I don't know. I haven't watched this video yet. Maybe you can watch it as well. I'm not going to play it right now, but I don't know. Just food for thought. I don't know.
Vips,
At
just
the end.
'cause
Like,
that says
how
he
would
has
he
the
demonstrate the
200
truth of
IQ
it?
doesn't
He's saying
mean
death is at the end. How would he demonstrate that statement to be true so that we would know it to be true? It's like he can't.
I don't know, but he has an IQ that's far superior to all of us, so maybe he would know better.
It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. If you understand,
You don't
what,
even
like,
know
what-
that he
if you understand what
actually
IQ is, if you understand what IQ is, it's completely irrelevant.
IQ is your potential to learn. It doesn't say anything about what you actually know.
IQ is the measurement of your capacity to be able to take in information, understand that information, and put that information back out in a different form.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Potential.
No, I had no. That's
you had
not.
You had to
it's way
say
too
the same
vague.
thing
What you
in
said-
7 different fucking words.
No, what you said was incredibly vague and didn't mean shit.
No, everyone knows what potential means. It's not vague. Well, this person may have a potential that's low in learning, and this person may have a
So
potential that's
I
high
think
in
I
learning.
think uh
That's
I think
all
I'm good.
IQ
I think
measures stuff.
I've wrecked him. That was easy enough. He
You
can't
didn't
demonstrate that
wreck
his God
shit.
exists
You
independent of time and
interrupted
context.
every fucking answer I tried to give.
Yes,
And then
yes.
you just,
So Vegas FAQ the madness asks for a demonstration that is true. Does this mean he can demonstrate it is not true? So that goes back. So FAQ the madness, to answer that question, that goes back to prior in the conversation when we're talking about, depending upon what God we're talking about. There are certain God concepts or like theistic concepts where the God itself is unfalsifiable that by definition, like naturalistic theism, that the entity exists. It was the facilitator of like the creation of the universe, like it facilitated that. Abiogenesis is how it created life. Evolution is how it diversifies life. Naturalistic processes are how it interacts with the world. But the problem is it's unfalsifiable because we can't differentiate between something that is completely naturalistic and something that comes from the God. So that you can either determine if that's true nor false. That's naturalistic deism. Now, or you could say naturalistic theism in the sense that every way it interacts with the world is completely naturalistic. So these are unfalsifiable concepts. The problem is when we're talking about a God that is defined in a way where its definitional attributes, like say the omni properties or certain actions or certain like statements that it makes, become logically contradictory. And if it entails logical contradictions, then we can say that that God does not exist because logical contradictions cannot exist. If you say that God exists outside of time, that doesn't actually say anything because, I mean, you're literally invoking a temporal state, which is existence, which is a temporal state. It indicates a point in space time. You're saying it exists outside of time and space, then it exists for no time and no space for at no points, which is really, really weird. But even if you went with that, the idea being that if the God is there and it is omniscient, meaning it knows all true propositions infallibly, which includes the set of its own actions, which are all true propositions. So everything it's going to do, it knows infallibly, meaning unchangeably, immutably what it's going to do. It can't do otherwise. Therefore, it doesn't have the will or volition to choose to do anything different. So therefore, anything it's going to do in the future, it already knows infallibly that it's going to do it, and it can't do it. It can't do differently. Okay, because then its knowledge wouldn't be infallible and it wouldn't be omniscient. Okay, so it's stuff like that. Not to be, that's omniscience. It's all paradoxical and there are logical contradictions there. So it depends upon how you're defining the God. That's what's important. Okay, and there's also the distinction of understanding that there are two claims made. Is either you know the God exists, which entails, which is an empirical claim, that you know that it is a thing that exists in external reality, independent of mind and context. That's a knowledge claim. Or you believe it exists, meaning that it is a conceptualization in your mind that you hold to be true, but you cannot demonstrate to be true. That would simply be a belief, the things that you are convinced of, not the things you can demonstrate to be true. This is the differentiation between pistis and gnosis. When you go back to the etymology of these words, going back to what knowledge was and what faith was, okay? Because it's a faith position, because faith is not a tool for epistemology, because faith is emotions driven and not evidence driven, because faith can change upon the information that you receive or your emotional state at the time. Faith is not a reliable tool to get you towards truth, okay? But explanatory models and predictive models that tell us what things are probabilistically true to a degree that it would eliminate the justification for doubt. That's important. That's basic analytical philosophy. That's like Wittgenstein and stuff like that. So in that respect, faith doesn't work. Okay. And it's really, really weird when you think about it. Think about this. I'll pose this. Okay. If an entity like this God existed, okay, and its ultimate goal is to have a relationship, and it's all loving, and its ultimate goal is to have a relationship with all human beings, okay, yet it instantiates a system in which the mechanisms and the methodologies by which we derive truth for everything else in the universe don't apply to it itself. You can't use logic as per Francis Collins, per Dr. Francis Collins, and in his book Language of God. You can't use faith. You can't use logic and reason to get to God. It requires faith. Okay, logic and reason are not going to get you there. So it's weird that a system that is actualized, that we recognize logical fallacies, why we shouldn't commit them. We recognize bias, why we should eliminate it. We recognize how to establish things are true to a probabilistic degree that would eliminate, leave doubt unwarranted. These all work for every proposition, but they don't work for what is supposed to be the most important proposition of all, and that is that the God exists. Okay, why is that? Why the necessity for such a double standard when nothing exists external to the God to dictate to it that such a double standard must exist? So why would a God that wants to have a relationship with all human beings create a system that literally works against that when it didn't have to do that? It's very, very weird, knowing full well that the entities it created would recognize it as a problem in reasoning, and that the something like the argument from divine hiddenness would be valid. Okay, like that makes no sense. It's completely contradictory. So that's something I asked this of theists to see if they can reconcile it, see if they can deal with it, and they can't. Because there is no answer. They just simply take it on faith. That's the way it is, and I can't do anything about it, which is really silly because it just basically throws your agency and your humanity in the trash. To kowtow to a authoritarian dictator who's do as I say, not as I do mentality renders all moral valuations completely incoherent. So
Uh, Cody, do you have any response to that, or are you good? I don't really have a response to that. I mean, I'm just my stance is kind of with fact here. It's called faith for a reason. Substance of things hoped for,
I get that, but
evidence of
why?
not
But
seen.
but but stop looking at it. Stop looking at it through the lens of what is or what you've been convinced is, and start looking at it through the lens of why. Okay, like why?
Why would God want you to know him? That's a good question.
Because it wants to have, and apparently because it supposedly wants to have a relationship with me, right?
Right.
So
But
why wouldn't it reveal itself to me in a way that would be indisputable to me?
because you want God to operate on your terms.
No, I
God
don't.
told
I
you.
don't care
Yeah,
how the
you
God
do.
operates.
I would heavily agree with that statement. I would say that again, Coded. He wants
You
God to
want
operate on his
you want
terms.
God to operate on your terms.
That was a home run right there. You knocked it out of the park. That like if anything, guys, you take that statement and you remember
Many
that statement.
times
He
I've
wants
desired to gather you under my wing like a mother hen gathers her chicks, but you refuse to come.
it's also another good point.
You see, this is the problem. He makes a patently false statement, and you
It's
just
not
agree with it.
patently
And when I
false, it's
hang on,
true.
you made a patently false statement.
No,
I
no, no,
did
no, no.
not.
He what happened was he hit a grand slam over the fence and you tried to jump on the fence and catch it, but you missed. That's what happened there.
You want God to operate on your
Vegas,
terms. You're very
Vegas, you
selfish.
muted me before I could refute him.
Go ahead and refute me.
So I don't
So
care if a God exists. I don't care how it
that's
operates.
part of your
It
problem.
operates however it operates.
Right. The
If the
part of your
God
problem
exists,
is that
if it
you don't
shut up,
care.
coded. If a God exists, and that is a true thing, I want to know that, because then I can start asking the questions predicated upon it existing. What is its intention? What does it want? Does it operate by any constraints? Are there no constraints whatsoever? I can start asking questions in addition to that.
God put
I
constraints
don't
on
have, if
himself.
such a God were to exist, I am not so like ignorant that I would think that I could bend this thing to my
Yes.
will. I just
Listen,
want to know, Vegas.
my answer to that is he does exist, and what he's trying to do, he's trying to save
How
us
do
from
you know? No,
he's
that
trying
makes
to
no
save
that
us.
makes
Hold
no
on, hold on,
sense.
hold on, hold on. Hold on. He's trying to save us for the upcoming destruction. World War III is just around the corner. I don't know if you know this, but they're going to announce AI robots pretty soon. They're going to, I mean, this may sound crazy to you. I know you may think I'm a tinfoil guy or whatever. They're going to announce a one world currency pretty soon,
He's
going to
not even
announce
listening.
AI robots. Everybody's going to have to be either subservient or they get killed. Agenda 2030 is just around the corner. America is becoming communist. I'm telling you guys right now, America is about to end. The America Corporation is about to end, and the only way to save yourself from this storm coming is getting right with your creator, basically.
None of that is
Ju-
relevant.
Jail. You say you want to know if God exists. You want to know God, but
I
you
would want to know.
deny God.
I
Hold
would want
on,
to
you
know that.
deny.
Yes.
Hold on, you deny God at every turn. Why would He bother with you?
Wait. What do you mean? I deny God at every turn? I
You
don't
don't.
believe. I don't believe in it because belief is unwarranted.
You say you have proof God doesn't exist.
Yeah. If the God is defined a specific way, yes.
So God has to define Himself the way you want Him to be defined,
No. It's not the way
or
I want.
you
No.
won't believe in Him.
No. If the God exists, then the laws of logic apply to it. The law of
No,
identity.
God's super logic, bro. God's not
Okay,
confined
stop.
by
Okay, stop. I'm
anything.
trying to explain this.
Well, that's where I'm
If God,
explaining to
if
you
you know,
where you're
so
going
logic. Let
wrong.
me ask you a basic question:
Go ahead.
Is there a differentiation between what God is and what God is not?
Wait, repeat that. Repeat that, please.
Yeah, God is.
Is there a distinction between
Yeah,
what God is and what God is not?
yeah. There's nothing false in God. There's no.
Stop.
There's
It's not
no.
what I asked.
There. That
It's not
is.
what I asked you.
If it's true, it's God. If it's not true, it's
Stop.
not
That's
God.
not what I fucking
I
asked you.
am the way,
Is
the
there a
truth,
distinction,
the
Vegas? Is
life.
there a distinction between the God set and the not God set?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
asking you,
there is.
Vegas. Vegas.
Uh, the
I am.
distinction, I'm not the guy that's equipped to answer these questions.
This is a
I
really basic
recognize that.
question, dude. Is God both itself and what it is not simultaneously?
How can he be something that he's not?
Thank you. Yes. Congratulations. That
He's
is the
going to
law of
Socratically
that right
lead you
there.
down a
Shut
yes
up,
and no
coded.
to his
Shut up,
conclusion,
coded.
right? Because you don't want
That
him to
right
know
there.
what
Can you
you're
please mute
doing.
him, Vegas? Because you were on the right path. You already got it. Like you got it. Okay. So here's the kicker. What you just invoked with that statement you just made was the law of identity, the law of non-contradiction, and the law of excluded middle. Okay.
Except God's
That
super
is,
logic, bro.
please mute him
Logic. God is
so I
not
can finish this.
confined.
This is
If God
important.
were
Let him
confined by
finish. Let him
logic,
finish
Coded,
real
God
quick.
shut
wouldn't
up.
be.
Shut your
You
Let him
fucking
shut.
ignorant
finish.
mouth.
Shut up with your Socratic yes
So,
no courtroom
this
shit.
is not Socratic, you fucking idiot. Stop talking about shit you have no idea about. Nonetheless, what you just did was invoke the classical laws of logic. Okay? You understand that there is a differentiation between what a thing is and what a thing is not. That a thing can only be itself and cannot be that which it is not. The determination of what we determine from here is encompassed in what we call set theory. There is the set of things that is God, the God set. A equals A. God is equal to God. And then we have the set of things that is not God itself. A is not equal to not A, the not A set. Okay? So there is a distinction between the God set and the not God set.
Right.
This is how we can talk about a God category in a somewhat coherent sense. That there is a category that is itself and is not equal to everything that it is not. All right.
And
Now
that'll
here's
all be determined and shown to you on the day of
shut
judgment.
up. Now here's the
What's
problem.
not God will go down in the pit.
With what Coded said. Coded is talking about this God being an incoherent thing. Coherency in and of itself.
The coherency of God is outlined in the
Trying
scripture,
to
which you have
explain this,
not
you
read,
idiots.
JL.
Vegas, can you please
Hold on.
mute him?
Let him finish the coherency part.
So, coherency is not simply about logical. Predominantly, it's about logical consistency. Okay, if you want to describe something coherently, you are essentially like referring to its identity, that which it is, as opposed to that which it is not. Like, for example, if I want to talk about good, like that which is good, in order for that to be a coherent subject, because it is a coherent term, there is the understanding of that which is not good that indicates what good is. Okay. When we're talking about the God itself, all right, that category is problematic, all right, in a number of ways. But what Coded is doing is he's
Asserted, not
talking about a
proved.
God that supervenes logic, that logic as we understand it doesn't apply to it. That for some reason, the law of identity, law of excluded middle, the law of contradiction don't apply to this God.
Right,
So that's
logic
and then
is a human
Coded.
creation.
Shut up.
Logic's a
Shut
human
your fucking mouth. I'm
created
explaining
by a
this to somebody who
fallen
wants to
mind.
hear it.
Right, you're
Fucking idiot.
bloviating.
So it's not bloviating. This is
You
very
are
basic shit.
bloviating. You're
So
bloviating.
if the God is to be a coherent thing to be talked about, we have to understand what the God is so we can distinguish it from that which God is not. But if
He
God
doesn't
super,
understand
but
what
if
God
God
is.
super, can you please mute him?
Right, because your mantra will fall apart if you're
So
interrupted.
the problem with what Coded is talking about, if God supersedes logic and these things don't apply to it, then the God itself becomes an incoherent concept. Because if the
To
law of
you,
identity,
it becomes
because if the law of
incoherent because you
identity
can
doesn't
only
apply,
see
because
things
if the law of
logically.
identity does not apply to the God, then the
Are
God can
miracles
both.
logical?
Then the God can both be itself and not itself simultaneously.
No, it can't.
That is what you mean when you talk about supervening logic, dude.
No, that's what you mean.
Fucking hell. Vegas, please. You yourself,
Why are you
you
getting so
yourself,
emotional?
you yourself keyed in because you keep fucking interrupting me with inane shit that doesn't mean what you
That's
think
what
it
you
means.
did to me when
So,
I was talking, but you
so
don't like it?
what Coded is talking about renders his God incoherent because
No,
it
it
becomes
doesn't, because my
indistinguishable
God's coherent to
it
me.
becomes indistinguishable from that which it is and that which it is not, because the law of
No,
identity doesn't apply to it. The law of
it,
excluded middle doesn't apply to it. The
it
law of
doesn't become
non-contradiction doesn't apply to it.
indistinguishable.
For it to be a coherent thing, and that is entailed by saying that it exists as a concrete thing external of our minds, then these things apply to it in order for it to be a coherent thing to be talked about. All right. So either the God is coherent or it is not coherent. Coded is arguing for an incoherent version of this thing.
No, I'm
You
arguing.
yourself
No,
identified
no,
the
no, no,
coherency of it, the
no,
coherency issue, that it
no,
obviously cannot
no.
be what it is not simultaneously to what it is.
Jail
Otherwise,
Warren
we
is.
wouldn't be able to tell what. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to tell what God
So
ever
so
is.
so how is God incoherent?
Okay, God is a coherent subject to be talked about because we can delineate, we can distinguish between between that which it is asserted to be and that which it is not. For example, this monster is not God. Okay, God is not this monster energy drink. God is not this vape juice. This vape juice is not God. God is God. God is not equal to not God. You have two sets: the God set and the not God set. And by virtue of the theistic worldview, especially the Christian worldview, the God set pre-exists the not God set, because anything external of the God is actualized by the God set. Thus, it creates the not God set, everything that is not itself. All right. So, in order to talk about this thing, we have to be able to distinguish between that which it is and that which it is not. If it's supervened, that's not me dictating that God must behave a certain way. That's saying that if God is a coherent subject to be talked about, we have to understand what we're talking about. Meaning we're talking about God and not that which is not God. But if the law of identity doesn't apply, then what are we talking about? I could be talking about this vape.
You're looking for something tangible. It's obvious
No,
we
no, it's not
already
tangible. No,
He
it's not
is.
tangible. It's not tangible. I'm
Hold up.
looking for its coherency. It's like
Can I ask?
what are we referring to
Can
when
I
we're
ask a
talking
question?
about the God when we're talking about the God set?
Can I
That's
ask a
basic
question?
logic.
Can I ask a question? Is charity logical? See, Greg or Jail Warren can only understand
hold
things
on.
through the
Let me
lens of
answer that.
logic.
Let me answer that. And
Go ahead.
from a secular viewpoint, from an evolutionary viewpoint, charity
Secularism
is
is not evolution.
is
Secularism is not based on evolution.
you Cody,
You can play.
you
He
asked just
has
a
to
hold on, hold on.
interrupt
Vegas.
anytime
Vegas. You
someone
can
tries to
Vegas.
Hold
interject.
on,
He
JL.
has to. You didn't
Cody,
even let him
did you
finish
ask
what he's saying.
Cody, did you ask is charity logical?
Yes.
Okay, so you asked that question. So from an evolutionary standpoint, charity is actually not logical because
Correct.
the hunter gatherers, they want to hunt and gather only for themselves and be selfish, right? So it's not logical for the evolutionary standpoint to be charitable.
Right.
They want everything for themselves. They don't care about the other monkey in the other tribe. They want to have their berries for themselves so they can sustain themselves.
Right.
So to answer your question, it's not logical for from an evolutionary standpoint, if that's what you
Right,
believe in.
right. And
Charity is
so
not logical.
right. And so my point is, if you strip everything that's not logical away, you're never going to understand God, because you're going to miss simple concepts like charity, which is completely illogical. To give to those who don't deserve to receive is
Right. Right.
completely illogical. That's faith, hope, and charity are the three great Christian virtues, and none of them make sense if you look through them through the prism of logic. Logic was not a defining methodology of human beings until the rise of the Greek Empire, until Socrates, the pre Socratics, Socrates, Plato. Now the Western world has this infatuation with logic because of our drive toward developing product and technology and that shit. Illogical doesn't work. Charity doesn't work in businesses.
You're
Logic
both
works.
both of you are fundamentally wrong on that,
I
because
know
they're
everybody who doesn't see things the way you see them
no,
is
no,
wrong.
that's
I
not what
get it. But not
Vegas. That's
everything
not.
is
Will you
logical.
coded? Will
Not
you let me
everything
finish a
is
fucking
logical.
statement?
Faith, hope, charity.
Anyway, shut up,
Charity
coded.
is the
So
simplest one
both of you,
to
I'm sorry. I
see
mean, sorry to tell you
that
this.
we have it
That's
in our heart to do
both of
it,
you are
and it's
fundamentally
not a
incorrect
thing
on
of
that.
our mind.
Evolutionary game theory does explain why we see altruistic behavior in nature, and we see it in human society. We also see it in other social species as well. Altruistic behavior does exist, and evolutionary game theory does explain why
I
we see
didn't
this.
say
This is the
altruistic
problem.
behavior.
So
I said
yes, the
charity.
concept of charity, charity is an altruistic behavior, you fucking idiot.
Charity
So
refutes
so
itself
charity,
to give to
charity.
those
Shut
who
up,
don't
coded.
deserve to
Coded. Shut
receive.
your fucking ignorant
Charity is
mouth.
100%
It is
illogical.
not illogical, and it
It's
can be
supra
explained.
illogical.
It's
It's
not
a thing of
illogical.
God. To give to those who don't deserve to receive. Illogical.
I mean, Vegas, if you guys are just gonna like whinge about like shit you have no idea what you're talking about, there's not much that I can do here. Especially if you're just gonna mute me before I can explain to you why you're wrong.
He seems very passionate. I mean, he's getting closer to the screen and raising his voice at certain times, at points. I appreciate the passion.
I'm
You're not
adjusting in
muted.
my chair. What the fuck are you talking about?
You just did it
You
right now. You
guys,
got closer
you
to the screen and you
guys,
raised your
I
voice.
leaned forward in my chair. You guys are fundamentally incorrect on this. I can explain easily how you are incorrect because you are not in possession of all the facts. Altruistic actions like charity are explained when you understand what evolutionary game theory is. Social species engage in this all the time. Humans are not alone in this. We are not the only social species on the planet. We document this behavior in other species. That's the problem. When you talk about this is my biggest issue with Christianity, because why it is a cult, because it engages in authoritarian control measures, behavioral control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. Okay. It tells you what behaviors you should engage in, what behaviors you should not. It tells you what information you should have access to, what information you should not. It tells you what you should think and what you should not. It tells you what you should feel and what you should not. When you put those constraints on the journey on simply learning about reality, you fundamentally control how people will act in a social setting. The fact that you're sitting here saying that there is no logical reason in a secular system for, number one, you conflated secularism with an understanding of evolution. The two are not related whatsoever. Secularism is just the understanding that the church should not be informing the state and the state should not be informing the church. It's a separation of church and state. That's all what secularism is. And understanding evolution and the truth of evolution has nothing to do with that. So I don't know why you conflated those things. No, actually I do, because you fundamentally don't understand this shit. Because your Bible, because your religion has dictated to you not to understand it. Okay? That's why it's aggravating. When you make patently false statements and I try to congenially say like, no, you're actually wrong on that, and I can explain why you're wrong. You just mute me so that you can fucking preach. And you wonder why the vast majority of my content targets Christianity, because that's what you engage in.
Wait, that's the premise of your channel?
No, but I mean, the premise of my channel, the concept of my channel is bridging the divide. And I bridge the divide by exposing charlatan, conmen, and grifters, by explaining how their reasoning is wrong and why they're lying, or they're just ignorant about stuff. And I give people the tools and the information they need so that they can recognize the stuff for themselves, and they don't fall for these kinds of grifts, like believing in a God exists when they can't, when it's nothing but a concept in their heads. So stuff like that. All right, so they don't get taken advantage of by people who talk like they know what they're talking about, and they don't. That's the problem. When I say that Coded doesn't have the philosophical acumen to actually have this conversation, I've already demonstrated like 1,000 times that he doesn't.
Philosophy is just a false religion, bro.
It's not a religion, you fucking idiot.
It is a religion.
It's not a religion. You don't know what the definition of a religion is. Fuck.
I do. Philosophy is a religion. It's the love of It's
so
the love
Vegas,
of wisdom.
There's no. I mean, at this point, I've already wrecked this. It's good.
Wait, hold on. Do you receive donations when you do your debates on your channel?
Not often. No. I mean, there are people who leave me super chats so I can read them, but people don't just give me money. I don't. I make it a point on my channel that if people want to give, they can, because it helps me to pay the bills. But I don't like e-bag or solicit. I don't like put up goals and shit like that. Like, please, super chat me. I don't, because I don't need to. I don't need to do that. So I don't want to put that onus on other people.
For money. Warren does what he does for money.
It's my job.
YouTube's your job?
Yes, it is my job. I pay taxes. I fill out a fucking W-4, dude.
That just means you received income. That doesn't mean it's your job.
Or a W-2. I fill out a W-2.
I would consider you a hobbyist at the best, not a job.
I don't give a shit what you think. I pay taxes on the income that I make annually.
Right, wait, can you make a living off your YouTube channel?
Yes, I make a living off my YouTube channel.
No, he doesn't.
Well, technically, let me add to that. I make a living.
Wait, how many subs does this dude have?
Hang on, in Vegas, I make a living off the combination of my YouTube channel, my writing gigs, and my production company.
Right.
I work for myself. I work for myself. I set my own hours. So,
yo, Coded, do you know how many subs this guy has?
I'm closing in on 10. I'm closing in on 10K.
10K. Woo!
I'm closing in on 10K.
I mean, that's
my interactions are really, really good on my channel.
You're paid.
Yeah, if he has a tight-knit community with 10K, he could possibly make a living from it. I've seen it before. I mean, 10K, it's not a lot, but if it's a tight-knit community and that constantly gives to him, yeah, he can make a living.
Yeah, I think 9.5. Yeah, I think I just crested like 9.5. So I'm hoping one of my goals for this year is to break 10K this year. I'd really like to see that happen. Slowly but surely, it'll happen. I'm not. I release content every week. I do my best to do that. But I have other gigs. I work on film sets. I write scripts for people. I do all kinds of stuff. So I release as I can. I try to be pretty regular because the algorithm demands it.
Are you more successful in the script writing, theater, film shit than Johnny Plott at the O-hole is?
Johnny is literally about to start working for Troma, so I have no idea what you're talking about. Johnny has been extremely successful in his endeavors.
Has he? He fleeced Becca from the Welsh News Network out of a big
No, he didn't.
And then disappeared.
No, he didn't.
Got awful quiet.
That's a blatant lie.
He didn't get money from Becca?
He didn't fleece her for anything. The money went to a specific purpose.
Did she get a return on her investment?
Well, that would depend upon what was going on between the two of them. I don't know the particular. I don't know the particulars. Was she expecting an ROI?
Fleecing is, bro.
No, was she expecting an ROI?
I'm sure she was. Why else?
Okay, you don't even know if she was.
Oh, she just gave it away out of the kindness of her heart. A mother.
She may have
taking care of her fucking grandchild.
She may fucking have.
I know. Fleece the widow who just got the death check.
Oh, whatever, dude. You just make claims about shit. You got nothing. You have no foundation.
Well, that's what he did. And
no,
then withheld evidence.
He did. You're a liar. You're a liar. You're in violation of your ninth. You're in violation of your ninth commandment. But when it comes to apologists, the commandments are really more conditionals than they are universals.
I'm not under the law, you dipshit. New covenant. I'm not under the law. I'm under the perfect law of liberty.
Then you don't
I
get to
may,
invoke the 10 Commandments like you did
I
prior.
may do
Anyway,
whatever I
so
please
I'm
as
done.
long
I'm
as
done
I
with this.
don't
I'm done with this
use it as
shitbird.
a
He's
cloak
got
of
nothing.
iniquity.
And Vegas, thank you for asking.
9,530
Thank you for asking
subscribers with a
some good questions.
22%
So Vegas, I'm trying to talk to Vegas right now. So
22%.
Vegas, you asked some good
22%
questions.
active subscriber
You asked some
base.
good questions. You
22%.
seem
Less
legitimately
than
interested
2,000 subs.
in these
active.
concepts, and I invite you to go and look into them. You know, you can pursue the education yourself. You can draft off the people who have already done it. And you can follow from there. You can definitely do your own work on it. You know, but you're like I have my own formulation of the logical problem of evil. Okay, I don't just rely upon what Epicurus and what Carneades and Hume were talking about. I formulated my own version, which I think goes a little
You've
bit
read
further.
Hume? Have you read Hume?
Dude, I've
Wasn't
read
it-
more philosophers than you could fucking count.
Wasn't it Hume that said that the most truthful thing is your emotions when you are
No.
sad?
No.
Hume absolutely said
No,
this.
you are
When
misrepresenting that philosopher, you stupid shit.
Sad,
Nonetheless,
when you are sad,
anyway,
you
so I'm
are
done.
sad.
I'm done with Coded.
100% reliable.
I'm muted
David
Coded.
Hume.
I don't need to
I'm
hear him anymore.
surprised you
So
read
Vegas,
Hume
I
and
appreciate you.
discount
Appreciate you
everything
entertaining
that's
me.
not logically
So
provable.
thank you very much, Vegas. This was fun. It was fun always, wrecking this piece of shit and exposing him for what he is.
You didn't
But you
wreck
had some good
anything,
questions,
dude.
Vegas. So
You didn't wreck anything, bro.
Keep searching. Keep searching, dude.
Keep
The live
living in
chat
your
would disagree with you, Haas.
Keep
So
living in your delusion.
Oh, he
So-
restreamed this. I didn't. Oh man, he restreamed it to his channel.
I didn't
Okay.
restream it to my channel.
Who cares? So
I'm not
what if he did?
restreaming it. I just jumped on the StreamYard.
Probably
Oh.
G2 did.
Yeah, I'm not restreaming this. I don't need to restream this. So
I know, because you're.
I'll leave it here. I'll leave it here for everybody to see.
22% active subscribers don't need to hear you.
So
look like a
nonetheless, he's got nothing. So I'm not
22%
sweating. I'm not sweating this
active
shit.
subscribers.
Think
What do
about the
you have,
question,
bro?
Vegas. Vegas, think
Wait,
about the question there.
Before you leave, is there any way you could drop your IMBD in the chat?
Not in the chat. I'll give it to you. I can.
He
I
doesn't
can
want you
message
to
it
know his name, dude. He's
So-
embarrassed by
In that
his
respect,
work.
In that respect, like I said,
He's
this guy's got
embarrassed by
got
his
some
work.
bullshit. But
Drop your chat.
I invite you, Vegas. I invite you, Vegas, to
Bow, chicka, bow, bow.
entertain the question. Can you demonstrate that your God exists independently of mind and context without begging the question?
All you have to do is lose your mind.
Now that I fully explain what begging the question is, assuming the truth of your conclusion and your premises, understand the reasoning behind that and why we should not be doing that.
Explain
Okay?
God.
If you're able
without
to
your mind.
if you're able to demonstrate either directly or indirectly that it exists independently of mind and context without begging the question, I would love to hear that. That's why I keep asking that question.
Sure,
because
dude.
we're talking about
Well, listen,
belief.
I think in my opinion,
because
when
we're
you
talking about that which warrants belief, so that we can get to what would warrant a knowledge claim.
Right.
Okay.
I think when you strip away Christian values from this nation, the nation tends to decline in degeneracy. More laws are
The evidence doesn't show that.
the numbers of violent
We're
crime
in it
increases,
now,
the number
dipshit.
of
Vegas,
different types of
the
crime
evidence doesn't
vastly
show that.
increases
The
when you
evidence
take
doesn't
away
show
Christian
that.
values from this nation.
Vegas, the evidence
When you
doesn't show
increase the
that.
Christian values in this nation, then society tends to go up on the incline and morality.
Vegas, the statistics do not bear that out. You may think that, but the evidence disagrees with you. As noted by every culture on this planet that is secular humanist in nature. Okay? The conflict comes.
I would
The
when you preach despair, when you preach despair
how am I preaching
and
despair?
hopelessness
No, how
to
am
a
I
nation,
preaching?
it tends to decline.
Vegas, how am I preaching despair and hopelessness?
If Jesus isn't real, then
Shut
we
up,
are
Cody. I asked
all
him a question.
men most miserable.
So Vegas, how am I preaching despair and hopelessness?
Shut up, JL. I answered.
If God is not real, then there's no reason to have any type of moral
that doesn't logically
consciousness
follow.
in your life.
It doesn't logically follow at all.
Therefore, it makes it easier to commit crime. It makes it easier to participate.
Vegas, that doesn't logically follow. That is
Vegas.
a
No one
sequitur.
would commit crimes. Listen
That is a non sequitur.
Listen to JL Jerkoff.
That is a non sequitur, Vegas.
It's a
Do you know what a non
non
sequitur? Do you
sequitur.
know what a non sequitur
Do you know what
is?
it is? Now he's
Yes,
going to
I'm
insult
asking
you.
Vegas. Do you know what a non sequitur is?
It
Vegas.
is consequential to the. It is
No, Vegas. Vegas. Do
consequential
you
to.
stop dodging? Do you know what a non sequitur is?
Stop nudging.
Okay, a
Listen,
non
man.
sequitur. A non sequitur is when your conclusion doesn't follow from your premises. But the evidence itself, the statistical evidence that we have, does not bear out what you're saying.
That's
If
what
it did,
that's
if
what
it did,
GED Tony said
if it
about your
did,
proof
then
that
the
God
vast
doesn't
majority of
exist.
people in prisons
No,
would
no, no.
be
Listen,
non.
listen.
Then the vast majority
If
of
you
people in
preach,
prison would be
if you
non-believers.
preach, if you preach to a nation that there's nothing when you die, there's just you just go blank. There's no
This
account.
life
There's
becomes more
people.
important. This life, this one life we live, becomes the most important thing.
Then that's exactly what you're not supposed to approach this life as if it's of anything important.
But it is. It is. This
But
life
it's
is
not.
important. This
It's
life
not.
and this life,
It's
my
not.
behaviors, my actions, the things I
compared
do impact others, and that makes
right,
me socially aware and socially
right,
conscious better than
right,
I was when I was a
right.
Christian. I
No, you're still a
recognize
shit dick
my
that's running
impact. I
around trying to
recognize my
convince
impact on
people
other
God
people.
doesn't
I
exist.
recognize my responsibility for both my actions and my inactions.
Then
I
how are
became a
you
more
then
socially conscious
how
and
are you
more
gonna
I became a more socially conscious and more responsible member of society when I eschewed myself of these notions that have no bearing.
what
Okay.
notions? What
Actually,
notions?
the
What do you
The
opposite. The
converse
opposite
is
is
that
wait,
true.
wait,
The
wait,
opposite
if
is true.
no,
When
ask
I'm
people
him.
sorry.
attend
I'm sorry,
church,
Vegas.
when people attend
The
church
evidence does
and
not bear that out.
adhere to
You
spirituality,
gotta
then that's when they are more socially aware and
Sorry.
right.
they hold
You have
themselves to a
No,
different standard,
no,
a
that's not
higher
how it
standard.
works. That's not how it
It
works
is.
citation
because
needed, JL. You're just fucking saying shit.
religions fundamentally invoke us versus them mentalities.
No, they
Okay,
don't.
the
No,
believer.
they don't.
When people attend church, they tend to increase in morality. When people
What
don't attend church, they decline in morality. That's the facts.
let
When
me add
people
to that.
are preached hopelessness and despair and that nothing matters and you came from monkeys and that nothing in society truly matters, that's when the nation declines. You can laugh all
That
you want about that, but that's the
that's
facts.
that's nihilism. That's what led Nazi Germany to the point it led to.
So no,
Only
you're
this life
wrong. You're
matters.
flat out wrong, and you're
Nihilism.
wrong about everything you just said.
Nihilism.
The statistics don't bear it out.
Nah.
Atheism does not entail nihilism. You don't understand what you're talking
Yes, it
about.
does.
Atheism
Yes,
doesn't.
it does.
It doesn't. You're like I said, Coded.
Nothing
You
matters.
do
If
not
this
have
is
the
all there is,
philosophical.
nothing
You do
matters.
not have the
Hey,
philosophical
let's
acumen
address.
to have
He
this
Let's
does.
hold
He
conversation
on. I
with me.
does.
do
He
actually. I
He
doesn't.
do.
does.
I
Okay,
do. You want to discredit me by
I'll close on
saying
this.
that.
I wrecked
Mute him for
him.
a second.
I wrecked him. I
You didn't.
educated him. So for
You
everybody in
didn't.
the live chat,
You
you can go
didn't.
back and
So
You
that was
didn't.
the
You
that
just
was the
want
you
whole
can go
point to
back and
win
watch
in an
go
argument.
back
You've
and
just
watch
right.
proven yourself
go
that
back and watch
all
You're
you
a
proved is
narcissist.
that
back
you
and
may
watch us
have a
wreck
degree or
him
whatever,
and educate
and you could
him.
say some
Exactly.
fancy
So thank you very
words.
much. I
You're a narcissist, Jay. Oh, he rage
He didn't
quit.
prove much. He didn't prove
But
much.
I
I
want to
mean, he
make
just proved that he knows a few fancy words.
right and
But
some
I know
logic.
for a fact that when you take spirituality and you apply it to society, when people attend church, they're 10 times more likely to adhere to better morals.
Look,
It's an incline in society rather than a decline. When you start preaching despair that we came from monkeys, nothing matters, there's no accountability, atheism, when you die, it's just lights out. There's no afterlife, and there's no accountability. That's when you get society going down on the
right.
downhill. He just
Well,
doesn't understand that simple concept.
that's what happened before the flood. Men lost contact with God. There were very few individuals that were following the way God wanted them to follow. And look, people were living hundreds of years. Some of the characters in the Bible, the average person wasn't, because if you lose contact with God and there is no God, and your wife is hot and I don't have a wife, why shouldn't I just fucking off you? Why shouldn't
Exactly.
when we're out hunting, I just put an arrow through you, drag you into the brush, and come back tomorrow? I say I lost contact with you. I come back tomorrow. I hope wolves or lions fucking mauled your carcass during the night, and I drag your body back home. I'm the hero who brought your body home. I
Right.
wanted
And
your wife. I
I
killed
really
her.
like the point that you brought up earlier. according to their logic, charity doesn't make any sense because
Right.
why would I, as monkey A, share my berries with monkey B when these berries can sustain me for the next couple months and then I can find a mate while, monkey B, it, who cares about monkey B? But it,
Well,
it's it's
if you're sentient, right, and it's charity, animals don't really practice charity. Human beings do. It makes more sense that animals would. Because a human being can say, my lazy fucking neighbor didn't even get out of bed today. He's bitching that he's hungry. And then you're like, all right, I'll give him some fucking food. But it doesn't make sense for you to feed this, do your work, kill your kill, feed this fucktard who won't get up and do anything. So charity makes no logical sense. And one point with J.L. Warren says religion causes conflict between people. It sets up an us and them mentality. This is how I know that J.L. has not read the scripture. Because the Old Testament, they were supposed to be kind to the unfortunate strangers. That's what the whole story of the Good Samaritan's about. But also in the scripture, in the Christian scripture, it says there is no Jew, there is no Greek, there is no barbarian, there is no Scythian, there is no male, there is no female in the body of Christ. All those categorical references that cause divisions between people. A true Christian is supposed to disregard them and not see them. No Greek, no Jew, no barbarian, no Scythian, no male, no female. We are the body of Christ. So where's the conflict come from in that, JL? JL completely misunderstands both the Old Testament and the New Testament because he can't apply his logical standards to them.
In the Quran, right, in comparison to the Bible, the Quran actually says kill the infidel,
Right,
whereas in the Bible it says love your enemy,
right.
bless your enemy. When your
We
enemy hurts you, give your enemy food, something like that. I'm not quoting it exactly, but it says something like that.
when
So
he's thirsty, give him drink. When he's hungry, feed him.
yeah,
If you
exactly.
do, if you do these things for your enemies, I will bless you.
Right.
Which is all contra logic. So
Right.
if you look up, logic has a lot of useful purposes. It has no business in faith.
Right. Right. It is the precepts in the Bible, they don't seem logical to the normal human, but to
It's
the person that's been enlightened to the truth and the precepts of the Bible, it makes sense to
well,
fulfill yourself and fulfill your soul.
and it begins to make more sense when you reluctantly, right? The spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. So your flesh is saying, "Hey man, we don't know if we're going to kill something tomorrow. Don't give that fucking food away." But your spirit says they're hungry, give them food. And then the next day you're out hunting, you have the largest, easiest kill of your life. That's the blessing that God sent you. Now you've gotten more. What scripture say? To him who is given little, little is required. To him who is given a great amount, greater things are required. So as you're blessed by God, you don't lose track of who's providing for you, and you become an even bigger provider to the unfortunates around you. That's all God wants. It's James 1:27. Perfect religion, undefiled before our God and Father, is this: visit the widow in her affliction, visit the orphan in their affliction, keep yourself unstained by the world. That's perfect religion according to God. That's simple shit to do.
Yeah, right here. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what will you wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap, or store away in barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of much more value than they?
And scripture, all New Testament scripture also says that for those who seek God, God will reveal himself to them. So if J.L. Warren has no personal experience with God, it's because he never sought God.
Right.
And that's
There,
why that's why God's not real to him. Because he's waiting for God to come and smack him on the back of the head and say, well, what have you been doing all this fucking time? Writing porn scripts and fucking fleecing people out of fucking, oh, you could be a
oh, is
millionaire
that
if
what he
my
does?
movie hits
Is
it.
he
Well,
is he an adult filmmaker?
I don't know if he is or not, but he strikes
Oh.
me as.
Yeah, right here, Jeremiah 29:13. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart.
Right. Yep. That's why Greg hasn't found him either. Greg actually got far away from him. Did you see Shiz's thumbnail for her upcoming video?
Oh, she has an upcoming live?
Yeah, can I
I didn't
share?
see it.
Do you mind if I share it?
I'll just look it up right here real quick.
Okay.
Let me see. Shiz happens. Is it about us?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
It could be. It would be more likely about me than.
it says surprise live stream FU.
Right. Well, fuck
Oh, it's
you.
for
Don't worry
tomorrow
about other
morning.
people's mental health. The hardness of Shiz's heart is starting to come out. Look at those dead hands making the dead heart. Death.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, what you said. There's something to
Bro, you
that.
got
You know,
you got to
she she
go.
fascinates over those skeletal hands.